Okay, Clarence, let's talk about poll tax for Sista Blu.
Yeah.
This is a great story because it's a setting of the first attempts of black people post-Reconstruction to vote again.
Right.
Lyndon Baines Johnson has signed the Voting Rights Act, and we know allowing black people to vote.
Right.
And we know that there were a lot of white people who were against black people voting,
Sure.
and there were many different types of obstacles put in black people's way.
Yeah, sure,
right?
sure.
There was physical intimidation.
Yeah.
Some people had been killed or beaten. But we know that there was another thing that was done, which was called the poll tax.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
The poll tax required black people to pay a few dollars.
Which at that point would have been a lot of money for a lot of them. It would have been a lot of money for them.
And I also, if you remind me now, there was a history that they had to be paid up on all their bills and dues.
Yeah, I may have kind of puffed that up a little bit,
Okay.
but they did have to own property, though.
Okay.
They did have to own property, and a
Okay.
lot of black people did not own property,
Okay.
right? And so there were all of these obstacles, as you say, that were put in black people's way. Now, $2 may not sound like a lot, but for somebody to vote, $2 may have been, more than they could afford.
But it wasn't just $2.
It wasn't just
It
the
was
poll
also
tax.
a battery of questions. That they
right.
had to answer.
Exactly.
Questions that the average white citizen might not even
Probably
know.
wouldn't even
Right?
know the answers to.
So,
Right.
so what
Right.
you've done with this play is you've taken this Sister Blu who works in a diner,
Yeah.
and she decides she's going to go and vote.
Exactly.
And this play centers around this confrontation she has
Sure.
with this white poll worker who is determined to thwart her desire to vote.
But even before she goes to vote, though, there is some unstated tension between her and the people at the diner that she's serving, because they do not think that. First of all, they don't think that black people should even worry about voting because their vote's going to be a waste. And then on top of that, they think that even if black people were allowed to vote, that the vote wouldn't count.
When you keep saying they, we mean the black folk in her community are divided about the validity of even pursuing this.
You're right, exactly. Because remember, this is going to be the first time they are going out to vote. Now, the young people in Selma, that's not a concern for them. They want to take advantage, right, of what Johnson did. When Johnson signed that Voting Rights Act, they want to take advantage of that, right? But the older people in the community, they're saying, oh, no, it's not going to make a difference, and this and that, and we're not going to waste our time, and look at what happened on the bridge last year and how they tried to keep us from even registering to vote. And now you want to go out there and vote? No. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. And besides, you're not going to be able to answer those questions. So that's really what this play is all about. Now, Sister Blu, you're going to notice that when the play starts, she is heavily involved in a book. And when the customers come in, she's so involved, she doesn't even realize they've come in. They're sitting at the table, and she's still in this book. Now, why is she in this book? What is she doing in this book?
We find out later on that
on.
she's been really studying
Exactly.
and preparing for these questions that are going to get tossed in her face.
Exactly. And so the second part of the play is really, I think, the meat and potatoes part of the play, where she does walk across Pettus Bridge, right, in all that rain, okay? And remember, when Pettus Bridge is symbolic because of what had happened on the bridge the year before. The Ku Klux Klan, the sheriff using his deputies.
The assault on the people walking.
walking.
The well-known John Lewis. At that
Lewis.
time, 25 years old, and he's beaten.
And again, that goes back to the young people who did everything they could to bring about the idea of voting. Whereas, again, in this community, many of the older black people think that it's just a waste of time because they remember that people died on the bridge because they wanted to vote, So anyway, the second part is the second part of the play is where we have Sista Blu and the poll worker in confrontation. He's asking questions which he doesn't think she's going to be able to answer, but she is able to answer those questions.
We're surprised that she's really prepared herself. And what I like about that scene is it's a comical scene because she has been studying, and he doesn't think this black woman has any idea on how the government works, how many counties are there in the state. So this play it's a nice peekaboo back in time about the obstacles that black people were dealing with in exercising their right to vote. And the message of this play still resonates. Here we are now in 2025, 2026, the 21st century, and we still see a lot of opposition and to people voting and disenfranchisement issues that come from some of the political parties here that really don't want to see black people exercising their full citizenship.
And the poll tax may not be in existence anymore. The literacy test may not be in existence anymore. But there are still other obstacles that people are coming up with that they're trying to do. For instance, they're trying to get rid of voting by mail. They're trying to get rid of that because they know that because they prefer to have people struggling, on the day to vote, struggling to get out there and vote. Those people may not be able to do that. The weather could be a problem. They may not have gas money or something. So they'd rather that to be the case than to have people be allowed, let's say a month before the actual election day, these people be allowed to simply drop their votes off in the mailbox or put them in the, So all of that stuff is meant to currently keep people from voting, whereas the poll tax and the literacy test were the beginning of all of this, and that's what Sista Blu has to deal with.
Yeah, so there's a real there is an entertainment factor in the cafe and in the patrons, and then Sista Blu studying the book. And she looks absent-minded because people are wondering why did she take in her order when she excuses herself but keeps it to herself that she's actually going to vote. And then the audience gets to see this kind of a showdown between her and this white poll worker. And my understanding, Clarence, is a big part of your motivation of writing this is to galvanize and educate our society, and especially black citizens, not to take their right to vote for granted.
Absolutely. And what I really like about the first part of the play is Joshua, because at the very beginning, Joshua comes in to the diner and he's saying to his father, "I'm gonna pay you back." And his father said, "I didn't say anything about you paying me back. I don't know why you did what you did, because you ought to know that sitting in at counters, that's not going to get black people anywhere." And the young man says, "Well, we got to do something, President Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act. White people not respecting it. We got to do something." And the father says, "Yeah, but I'm not going to let you sit in jail. I'm not going to let you sit in jail." And that young man, Joshua, and Sista Blu, even though they never really talk, they make eye contact and they approve of each other. Whereas Harris and the young man's father, Felix, they don't think...
They're kind of the naysayers.
They're the naysayers, but they also are down on black women. Well, they're down on women, period, because they say women know nothing about politics. And then Harris says...
to interrupt you, but that point also shows that even within the black culture, there was a patriarchal gender bias going on. You have black women who are not necessarily being appreciated.
Yeah.
And we all know that black women were essential leaders in the civil rights movement.
Sure.
Dr. King gets all this attention, and a lot of the black women that actually were formidable leaders are sometimes ignored.
Sure. I mean, look at Rosa Parks. I mean, it all started with her, right? I mean, and what I like about the ending of the play is that after Sister Blue has voted, then she makes her way back across the bridge because she has to go back for the night shift, the diner, and she meets Harris. Remember, Harris had said, well, you know, women, they don't know anything about politics, you know, especially black women.
Right.
And he doesn't know that she's going out to vote, right? And so ultimately, he realizes that she did go out to vote.
And then, of course, when it's revealed that ultimately the incumbent sheriff that everyone assumes will win again because he's white and he's a part of the establishment, it turns out that he actually loses by one vote.
By one vote, right.
Which is like, well, hey, if Sister Blue hadn't taken off her apron, put on her raincoat, and walked through the rain to vote, there would have been no progress.
Exactly, and we could say the same thing about Sam in Bridging the Distance, and this is what Nico was saying. Maybe we could have a bunch of plays that have different single characters who vote, and at the end, though, it's that one vote that counts, but we don't know which one of those people's vote counted. But the idea of one vote might seem unrealistic to people, but that doesn't matter to me because what I'm trying to do is to emphasize the theme that every vote counts. And
I think that Poll Tax for Sista Blu will be a really great piece of theater that not only educates but inspires, and I believe will also have entertainment value. I really do. So, you know, if we're able to put this together, and it's going to be at Cullen Theater, that's a huge theater. It's a gorgeous theater. Yeah, I looked it up online. It's a huge theater. If we could have that place packed, oh my God. Yeah, and that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've been in one of your plays already, and if I'm able to bring the character Felix to life, that would be a thrill as well.
Well, it's not if. It's not if. If you're able, no, you will bring that character to life because I can just see you and Joshua going at each other. You know, you're trying, that's your son. You don't want anything to happen to him, but then your son says, no, Dad, we got to get out there and we got to, you know, we got to show these people. And you're concerned that something's going to happen to him because he was already released from jail. You had to pay to get him out. And he says, if that happens again, I don't know if they'll let you go. So, yeah.
Well, I think we've made our case.
I think we have.
All right. Well, we hope to hear from you soon.
Yeah.